My name is Chekwas Okafor. I am the founder of ONYCHEK.com. Vanichi's telling my story.
Thank you so much, Chekwas, for being with me today. Let's just get into it. You know, you have such a unique business, and you have a unique background. How did you get started? What led you to this moment in your career?
It's been I guess more than anything, I've been running away from fashion forever, right? When I was younger, Dad, his business was importing textiles from China. And it was clear to me that I wasn't going to do that. I had no interest in doing that because I didn't see a connection of how I could serve my continent with doing that. Fast forward, 10, 15 years later, I was in college and I was selling clothing out of my dorm room, and this was me trying to get a little money here and there. But I also didn't see how I could use that to do what I wanted to do in life, which was trying to create opportunities for people in Africa, because I'm Nigerian. And then in my senior year as well, my friend talked to me about, hey, you wear pretty nice, suits because they were custom made back home. Is there a way we can make a lot of them and sell them here? I dismissed that as well because I was thinking there's no concrete way I can create opportunities by doing that. So 2 years later, this was in 2014, another friend actually sent me a picture of a really nice made in Nigerian suits by a young designer, and that changed everything. That was when I realized, wow, there is a lot of magic happening back home. There was a lot of magic, happening in Africa, and nobody was telling their stories. Nobody was making it a lot easier for designers to, share their gift to the world. They were telling stories in a different way, giving the African narrative through fashion, and nobody was actually, telling the world that story. So that's how it started. I then realized that I can use fashion to, create opportunities back home, because if I was doing anything else, then it was just a part-time, because everything I wanted to do in life was going to create opportunities back home. So my love for Africa and seeing the opportunity with using fashion to tell that story and to create opportunities started 2014. And from then I reached out to designers. I knew I wanted to focus on luxury because that's where most of the magic is happening. That's where designers are, incredible stories. They're, weaving culture in fabrics. And I believe starting there, the world will hear the story a lot more. The world will understand we're here a lot more if we focus on luxury. And so I started working on it. I worked on it for 2 years, a lot of up and downs, and, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? A lot of turn downs and things like that. But overall, in 2016, so last year in September, I eventually launched with 7 brands, 5 countries. And so that's where we are now. We're, 4 months in, and things are going well. And, we have plans to, increase more designers this year and, have a lot more, represent a lot more countries. So our major value proposition is, luxury fashion made in Africa. And the made in Africa part is a really important part. So that's basically how we've gotten to this point, and we're excited about where we are and more ecstatic about what's going to come.
That's amazing. Congratulations, too, on
Thank you.
curating. It's so important to acknowledge what a beautiful curation this is.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That you have discovered. And we know that no matter where a brand is based, discovery is one of the biggest issues that any brand faces. So
absolutely.
For you to create a beautiful platform of so many beautifully, amazing curated brands, let me just ask you this. What do you think are some of the misconceptions that the fashion industry has about Africa?
So we actually still facing it right now, and we actually knew about it before we jumped into it. The idea that if it's made in Africa, then it's lower quality, Like, that's the biggest one. And we're saying if it's made in Africa, it shouldn't cost that much. Like, why should it cost that much? I get that question a lot, right? But then that's the biggest thing. And I think it's going to be retailers going to have to tell the story, because if you can imagine, it's all perception, right? It's a perception over time. People assume that, made in African products are not quality. So for that to change, it's going to take a while, but it's our responsibility as retailers to market it, to, position it in such a way that people start changing that thought. Just talking about it won't work, because as humans, how humans kind of work, it takes a lot of time for people to kind of change how they feel about something, how they associate themselves about something. So yes, that's one biggest perception. We are bad on it right now, but it's okay because we knew about it before going in. So it's actually exciting because, it's our responsibility to, to change that brand positioning and letting the world know, no, it's actually really good quality, and it costs as much as that's the right price for that product. So that's the biggest one that we're, fighting right now.
As you've been curating brands and you've been traveling and meeting with these founders and the artisans and everything, and really seeing the amazing quality that's coming out of Africa right now, and that has really been intrinsic to every culture, within Africa. It's really,
it's not new, right?
It's not a surprise,
Yeah, I have to let people know, this is not new whatsoever. But okay, if you call it new, that's fine. But I guess, people understand luxury, differently, and maybe that what they saw as luxury, it's relatively new when it comes from Africa. But yeah, it's not new.
It's not new, and my co-founder of Vanichi, Jordan Swain, he actually says, luxury originated in Africa. If you think about it. Okay. Luxury originated in Africa, so luxury has always been a part of the culture, no matter what country you're talking about in Africa. There was always an element of luxury. So it's not a surprise to those who know, but for those who are discovering it, it is a shock. For these brands, what do you think are some of the key things that they need in order to be able to claim their rightful place on the global landscape of fashion?
I like to focus on things that we can control. So there's a lot of truth to this too. So there's a lot of maybe government support and things like that. I think that's fine, but what we can control. So what we can control, or as a company, what we can control is place their brands well. Brand placement is really important to change how people, look at their brands. So one big part of this is telling their stories. That we focus a whole lot on content. We put out a blog and things like that every week on our website, The Insight, and we use that to tell the stories. When people, just like every other luxury brand, when people have to understand the story behind the brand. If people tell the African brand story a lot and position it well and respect it. So respect it means how you associate yourself with that brand. When you respect it and just cover it as supposed to, people start having a change of thought about how they associate that brand. I believe that when you do that, you generate demand. And when there's a lot of demand, by default, somebody will solve the problem of supply. Somebody will, solve the problem of, building more manufacturing facilities and things like that. I think a demand will drive that other part. And it's retailers' responsibilities to kind of generate that demand first, before we can go into solving supply issues.
So refreshing to have someone break it down with such clarity. The thing is that there's really no difference between brands that come out of Africa need versus any other brand, which is to, like you said, be positioned well, be seen the right way, and the consumer will automatically understand what they're looking at, because the consumer that you're aiming for is the consumer that recognizes quality when they see it.
Exactly.
So it fills in its own gaps, and it's very beautiful. So let's get to the nitty-gritty of this amazing platform that you have created for discovery, ONYCHEK. break that down for us over there. It's so beautiful, and anyone that's discovering it for the first time is most likely going to be blown away by the brand you curated, especially if they're not familiar with the artisanship that's coming out, that's always been in Africa and is emerging on a whole other level now with these innovators. What are you all, what's going on? The inside scoop.
Sure, absolutely. So just like obviously we're passionate about what we're doing, and our two biggest value propositions, things that that is core to the company, is one, all our brands make their products in Africa. So there's a lot of African designers that make their products in the diaspora or somewhere else, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually good. But as a company, we focus on only brands that make their products on a continent, because we believe that when we do that, then we can strengthen that brand. We can tell their stories. We can create opportunities for people that are in the supply chain. If we support brands that only make their products in Africa, most of our impact will be on the continent, right? So that's one big part of it. From now to 10 years later, our brands will make their products on the continent, and hopefully brands that make their products somewhere else will see, will solve some of their, problems, and they can come and make their products on the continent. There's nothing wrong with making it somewhere else, but we just want to support that ecosystem where, most of the value is back on the supply chain. So that's one big one. And two is we're doubling down on content. And obviously this is this is a line of work. If people don't know about this brand, if you don't educate the world about this, they won't know. If you just put up a product, that's fine, but they have to understand, why am I paying so much about a brand that I probably don't know? Or, how do I know this is quality? What is the story? So we've doubled down on content. We will be putting a lot more content out. So those are our two biggest things that keep us up at night. All our brands have to make their products on a continent. By default, it has to be, quality product, because it's a luxury site. And then secondly is we will continue to tell stories with our brands. Obviously, really good curation. So, the pictures, the videos, all of them have to match the product. You can't put a mediocre, picture to support a, really nice product. Then you're telling, mixed stories. So absolutely. So those are two main things that we focus that keep us up at night, and hopefully we get better at it with time. We believe we'll get much better at doing that.
Before we close out, as you have been going on this journey yourself, I'm sure there are some things that you have discovered about yourself that maybe you didn't realize.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing, what's something about yourself that maybe even surprised you, like a strength that you had that you were unaware of, a skill set that you had that you were previously unaware of, that has been integral to your entrepreneurship with ONYCHEK?
I think, so obviously I've learned a ton. I started building this 3 years ago. I can tell you maybe a little background. So in 2014, as early as 2014, I did not know what a podcast was. That's one. I did not know what e-commerce was. I knew I had an Amazon account, right? So I bought stuff from Amazon. I bought stuff from eBay, but I didn't really understand what e-commerce was. So you can see how much growth that has happened within the past two years. I literally, nobody knew what I was doing for 2 years. I just bent down and learned. I guess I didn't know how much, how plastic our brains are. As far as you put your focus to it, you will learn it. I've learned skills I've learned soft skills, a lot more soft skills. I've learned photography. I've learned coding. I've learned Photoshop, right? These are some skills that I never thought I will learn. But if you have, passion for something and you're trying to solve a problem, you You just kind of go for it, right? So, and looking back in 2014 when I didn't know what a podcast was or what an e-commerce was, and then 2 years later, I launched an e-commerce company, and I understand the e-commerce landscape now. So it's just that much growth can happen, and knowing that just within a year or two, somebody can entirely transform, and my view on life has changed. I didn't know I could read, so now I even read. I think I read like 24 books last year. In 2014, I read 0.
Wow.
So yeah, So 2014, I read 0. 2015, I read 12. 2016, I read 24. But the point is, just if you have passion for something, it's just you're boundless. And those are some things that I've learned about myself. And with that saying, I know in the next 10 years, I will evolve, numerous times. But so yeah, it's been a growth experience, and I embrace every part of it.
It also sounds like you're an autodidact, and you're not scared to get your hands dirty with it.
No,
like you're like, okay,
not at all.
I need to learn
not
this.
at all.
Let me just go ahead and learn it.
Exactly. The first couple tries would be really frustrating, but it's absolutely doable. And I realized that I think I've understood, the whole saying of, just put your mind to it and you can do it. I mean, I've kind of taken that away from just a saying and internalized that. Right? There's a difference between just saying it and realizing that that's actually real. That's actually possible. If I think that I want to be the greatest, a really good pianist, tomorrow I will just take up a piano lesson and just start it. I know that, right? So, what I think my mind now has grown so much that I believe if I just want to do something, I will just do it. It will take time, but I will just do it. So that's made it a lot easier for me when I face challenges. Yep.
Beautiful. So let me ask you this to close out. Do you think that there are some unique advantages that Africa-based entrepreneurs have entering this space of luxury that is just intrinsic to them, like some unique advantages that they have as entrepreneurs?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe so. Overall, yes, I think the world seeks uniqueness now. The world seeks something different, something new, and we're at the point in the time when people want something different. People are a lot more, conscious. There's a lot more conscious consumption happening right now. And by default, African brands are conscious brands. That's it. Brands that make their products on a continent are conscious brands. The brands that think about their supply chain, and that puts us in the right position for consumers that are more, conscious, sophisticated consumers that care about how their products are made. That puts African brands right in the center. So that's one big one. Another one is the growth in the middle class on the continent. Even though it's slowed down a little bit, but there's a lot more educated people in the middle class that want to support African brands. They're a lot more conscious about supporting local brands, and this is the right time for that, for a business like this to position brands and give African consumers, an opportunity to support local brands that are making quality products. So that's 2. And then 3, there's this something I've just noticed a lot more is that the Black community in America are absolutely conscious to support African or Black owned companies or Black brands, or connecting with the continent. That is exceptional. I think even if I wasn't clear, I had a really clear observation. I think 2 weeks ago, I went to the city, New York City, and I was walking around in the cold trying to give out, passing out flyers of the company for people to just kind of go look on the website. And almost 50 to 60% of the Black people I saw literally stopped, had conversations with me, and not knowing me from anywhere. And they were all supportive and say, hey, I will support your brand. Even if I can't afford it, I will tell people. And that was exciting. That was just eye-opening, right? So that's a third thing. African brands are positioned well enough for Blacks in America that want to support African brands or Black-run companies. So that is another big aspect of what's going on that kind of puts us in the right position.
Wow, this has been so insightful. And I really appreciate you taking time to just speak with us about who you are, what you're doing, why you're driven by this, your passion behind everything, and also giving much needed insight into the actual entrepreneurial atmosphere coming out of Africa. Like I said, it's beautiful what you're doing. We are fast fans of ONYCHEK already.
Thank you. That's exciting.
Like I said, is gorgeous. So, with that, thank you so much again for joining us today.
Thanks, Joy. I really appreciate you, taking the time to share our story. I really appreciate that.